Hey folks, Doom Wizard here. This is going to be a different kind of video, something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I was curious what you guys thought. Maybe you could let me know down below your feelings on the subject. I've been watching a lot of BookTube lately, and as a result, I'm like, I could do that. I've got plenty of books I'd love to talk about. I've got philosophies about books I'd like to talk about. Not all of them are game related. They're more game adjacent. Some of them aren't even close to that. But I thought rather than just put this on my usual videos, I thought I'd do a separate series on this channel so that you guys would know what you were getting in for if whether you wanted to watch game related stuff or booktube stuff. The biggest thing I want to talk about is audiobooks. And are audiobooks books? I I want to know what you guys think, so please let me know. But I want to tell a couple stories first. One is a couple years ago, I posted a question on Facebook, I think it was, asking my followers, are audiobooks books? And if your answer is no, tell me the last physical book you read. And the weird thing is, as you can probably guess, there was an overwhelming no. Books, one comment was something like, books are movies without pictures, or audiobooks are movies without pictures. The weird thing, or the not so weird thing, the kind of predictable thing was most of the people that said no didn't follow up on the question. It was just no. You know, these are the people that don't read that think audiobooks don't count as books. When I was in about the sixth grade, I had some serious vision problems that we were working on, the doctors and I were working on. So I was kind of behind in reading. So to catch up, I would get audiobooks. I don't know what we called them back then because they were just on cassette tapes. I would get audiobooks of the books that I needed to do book reports, listen to them. Sometimes I'd follow along with the actual book if I was lucky enough to find it in my little bitty elementary school library. We had a library that was nothing but books people donated, like our encyclopedias in 1979. Didn't really know how the Vietnam War was going to turn out, and man hadn't set foot on the moon. It was all speculation. And I'm not joking. Seriously, I'm not joking. Anyway, so that got me thinking. What I've been thinking about this is anybody who says audiobooks don't count as books, I want you to tell that to a blind person. I want you to tell that to a vision impaired person. Tell them, then are Braille books not books then because they're not typed out? What's the difference? Now, one could argue, well, there's a lot of production that goes into some books, some audio books that almost count them as audio plays. Well, guess what? I'm a big fan of audio plays, so you're not going to win that competition with me. One of my favorites, and one of the ones that got me actually back into listening to audiobooks, was Dracula. I don't have it. I'll put it here. This was great. This Dracula, like Frankenstein, for me, are just slogs. They're hard to get through. Maybe it's the age they were written in, which I don't really think so because I read a lot of really old stuff. Maybe it was just the style they were written in that I couldn't get into. But this Dracula book set me off. There was so much production that went into it, and the fact that they had I almost said Drew Carey. The fact that Tim Curry was playing Van Helsing, they had me right there. They just had me. And it's not like it's like an audio play. It's a book that people just read. I found Dracula about the time we were all in lockdown in 2020 during the pandemic, and like I was desperate for anything to do to keep my brain, functioning. So I listened to that, and then I discovered I found Ian Gordon's Horror Babble, which I like Ian Gordon's the Horror Babble show, but after a while I wanted to hear somebody else read something. which brought me to my love for this guy. Let me rephrase that. My love for this guy's writing, because we all know. I was never able to read Lovecraft, ever. It goes back to the style of writing. I just that journalistic kind of first person tell. I don't know that the tone that it's written in. The purple prose got to me too much. It's like just get to the monster, please. But then I found a bunch of audiobooks of Lovecraft's online and just ate them up because I was running out of stuff to listen to. And I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I always knew. I mean, you know who Lovecraft is. I think it's just like it's in us. We all know Cthulhu. We all know who Lovecraft is. We all know who Lovecraft is. But we also know his monsters. It's like it's just part of us. And Cthulhu, for instance, is everywhere, everywhere. And I started playing D&D around 1981, and a buddy of mine had a copy of the monster or the deities and demigods that had the Cthulhu mythos before they were allowed to use it. So we were playing with those. So I always knew who he was, but I couldn't get into his writing style until I found audiobooks of At the Mountains of Madness and of course Call of Cthulhu and a bunch of others. And something about that clicked with me. That's why I realized these stories are basically first person accounts being told in journals, Yeah, I'm in Dagon for crying out loud. The monster's at my front door, is how that story ends. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it. Which leads me to think that's how his stories should be passed on. And also, speaking of passing things on, when you're dealing with like the tradition of storytelling, written storytelling in the history of humanity is relatively new. The majority of it, the majority of the history of storytelling is oral and pictures. So if you think about it, books are basically a relatively new concept in human history. As a result of audiobooks, Lovecraft stories are among my favorites, and they've also opened the door up to a whole lot of other storytellers that I didn't even know existed. A lot of pulp writers. I mean, I knew a thing or two about a thing or two when it came to pulp writers, but then I started discovering all kinds of them because of Lovecraft's stories and audiobooks. Do I still read physical books? Yeah. Do I read as many of them as I did before I had kids? None of us do. To put that down, that dang thing's heavy. So I have a number of books that I'd like to talk about, some philosophies about writing I'd like to talk about, and things like that that, like I said earlier on, they're not exactly game related, but they're kind of game adjacent. And some of them won't be, like for instance, this one. So that's why I decided it might be a better idea to just create a different series on this channel so you can pick and choose which videos you want to watch. Fun fact, once you get into Lovecraft, you start just buying the books that come out with Lovecraft stories in them, even if you already have them. Like I probably have more of his stuff, more of the same copies of his stuff than any other writer, and I've only really been a fan for a couple of years now. I found these at Ollie's, and the funny part was it was on an end cap with a bunch of like kids' board books and stuff. So I got excited. I thought, "Ooh, man, Lovecraftian board books! I gotta see these drawings." But unfortunately, no, they're the stories, but they're really. Let's see if I can hold it up. They're really cool looking, and this one even has like a journal, you know, and it's got some illustrations in it, and it's a lot of fun, and it looks cool on your shelf because, I mean, look at this thing, you know. Okay, well, that's about all I'm gonna say about this subject today. But let me know, do you think audiobooks count as books? If not, why? And if you want to see, some booktube videos from me, also let me know down below. And just like all my other videos, thanks for watching.